In a world that is robbing dudes of their dudeness, three normal, everyday, middle-aged dudes are taking a stand for dudes everywhere. Join us as we talk about life as a dude in today's world.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Dudefinity podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things dude. My name is Sterling, and joining me, as always, legend says that he can bring balance to the Force. Jordan.
Okay. Well, I will say that the Force will still exist, given the news that we're going to talk a little bit about today.
I think that's a great segue, right?
But no, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Not
Yeah,
too bad.
good week.
I'm
You've
going to
been
be
kinda
honest.
busy.
I want to get right into this one. I want to get
I know,
right
but
into
you've been
this.
kind of. I know this one's like got you. That's why I put you on the hot seat for a minute.
I am excited. I'm ecstatic. I'm ready to go.
If I'm being quite honest, you care way more about this than I do. But
Well, I get it.
I'm gonna let you get on your soapbox.
It's not so much a soapbox. It's just
go for it.
If you haven't heard the news, Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy were both summariously removed from their current positions at both Disney and Lucasfilms. And if you're a Star Wars fan, congratulations! It's a real fist pump moment. Kathleen Kennedy is responsible for TV series like The Acolyte, which I think you can barely refer to as TV. It's one of the worst Star Wars things I've ever seen. All of the Force Awakens films, which were all terrible. They did hit some good points with The Mandalorian, and
I was gonna say, was she responsible for The Mandalorian?
Unfortunately,
decent.
Yeah, it's decent. And then,
but
Rogue One too was a good film. But even a broken clock's right twice a day. Long story short, this just goes to prove the whole point: go woke, go broke.
Well, and I'm gonna take it a little simpler than the whole woke, go broke thing and all that.
Okay.
More importantly, don't f up Star Wars.
Well, factual. And here's
it's Star Wars.
Part of the problem is that
like it, love it, whatever. It's a brand that has lived on for many, many years. It continues to thrive, and instead of steering into it in its authenticity, she steered into it in a way that Star Wars fans are like, I don't even recognize this.
Well, it's part of the problem is that you have a core audience, and one of the things that with any business, really, if you have a core audience, it's fine to go out and try and attract new customers or new eyes, put new asses in the seats, as we like to say. But you can't do that and alienate what your core audience was in the first place.
How'd that worked out for them?
100%. So this is, it's been a long time coming. I'm not surprised considering how bad Star Wars has done. I'm not surprised. There was a few months ago, there was an article I was reading about Disney attempting to attract young men back to Disney. You had the Avengers.
You pushed them all away.
You had the Avengers. You had a ready-made thing that guys liked, and then you messed with it, and look at where it got you. And they both are gone. Good riddance. Sayonara.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna
hopefully
sound so
I don't
bad.
see you later.
This is gonna sound so bad when I say this, but I really don't care about Disney, and you know me, I'm not a huge Star Wars sci-fi kind of guy anyway. I get why this is a huge deal, though, not to dim the magnitude of it. But here's what I'll say. Everything you just said about you had the guy, you had everything, you had the Avengers, I kind of liken it to my version of Bud Light. Bud Light had me going. Everything was good. I drank Bud Light regularly. It was a great beer. And then they went completely woke. And then the fad was to not buy Bud Light. And guess what? I moved on to Coors Light, and those mountains are cold. And then next thing I know, garage beer started popping up everywhere. So I'm just saying, man, once you put a crack in the armor, when you have something that's so good, it's hard to keep it, and it's hard to get it back. I don't think Disney's gonna. 100%. I don't think young men are gonna be coming back in thralls. Like, in my opinion, Disney needs to start a division of Disney that is kind of more so towards the conservative side of the fence, and start making films along those lines.
I need to. I guess for the sake of making sure my point is accurate,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can't have strong female leads. I'm not saying
No.
that. Look at Wonder Woman, fantastic film.
Jeez.
The problem is with a lot of this stuff is the only thing they seem to care about is that aspect of it. So
Yeah.
it's like if you can write a fantastic character who is deep and has an
Tomb Raider.
emotionally compelling
Perfect
story.
example.
Well,
Tomb
hold on.
Raider. Yeah.
Like, emotionally compelling story, deep character, wonderful growth, and they happen to be female
Yeah.
or they happen to be gay. But that, as in real life, a person's sexuality is not the primary part of their
Identifier.
personality.
Yeah. But right, it's not an identifier. You know what I mean? It's not the key definer of someone's personality or anything else. But, you know, Lara Croft,
Laura
Tomb Raider.
Croft, Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tomb Raider. I've never like she's a badass, and I've never one time I'm like, oh, she's a badass who happens to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like I don't know. It's just one of those things for me where it's
like
not. It's kind of like this.
Yeah.
And I hate to make this analogy, but we've talked about this before. It's the whole adage that why don't we call people men and men, people men and women, and not black man, Chinese man, white woman,
sure.
black woman. Like, who gives a shit, man? Like, just find the person that's best for the role, put them in it, man, woman, gay, straight, whatever, and just make your movies. Stop trying to change people's ideologies.
Well, I think a lot of it is that they're trying to check boxes rather than make a great work of fiction. And I think that's the problem. That's why they fail so always is that, when your point is to make a political statement rather than make a great work of fiction first.
Yeah.
That's when you fail. And you've seen it over and over again. Films are down. Okay. Do you play the original Fable on Xbox?
I have.
Okay. They've had a new Fable coming for years.
Right.
And one of the things they did, it's Turn 10 Studios, who does Forza. They did Forza Horizon, which is a fantastic game, great studio, yada, yada, yada. But they intentionally made the main character an ugly woman for some reason. And people got pissed about it. And we talk about this all the time, regardless of how you feel about it. Regardless of what your thought process is, whether you think it's right, whether you think it's wrong, the whole point of a video game is to put asses in seats. So it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. What matters is whether people play it. Your job is to make money. You make a game, people buy it. If you don't make a game that people want to buy,
who's
what are you
employing
doing?
to make the next one? Right.
Yeah, you won't be making the next one. That's 100% right.
You know how I feel about this, man. It just drives me nuts that we live in a world that is so, I guess, hypersensitive is the word that comes to mind. Hypersensitive to, not be racist, to not be sexist, to not be a bigot, to not be these things, that in our strive to do those things, we are doing the opposite of, you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Like Sterl, you've been my best friend since what? We were 11?
Yeah, around there.
I don't ever walk around and go, hey, here's my best friend Sterling, the black guy. Like,
yeah, it's not a. And part of the problem,
it's not even a thing. It's not even a thing, though.
Part of the problem is that part of the problem is that people try so hard. People try so hard to not be racist. They end up being more racist than they would have been if they were just racist. It's just a weird thing that again, it comes out of. We talk about this. People, I think, are inherently good. People want to be nice. Most people want to be nice. Most people want to be kind. And
we'll debate that on another episode.
I don't know, man. I do. I think people are generally good.
I appreciate
people
it,
are
but
generally
I can show
good.
you I can also show you geographically where people are born inherently not good. But we'll talk about that later.
Again,
with a predisposition in their DNA to
you say a predisposition, but there's also cultural factors. If your culture says that this thing is okay, and that is where you base your what's the word I'm looking for here? Your morality.
Right.
then, again, that's what I mean by people are inherent. I think most people are inherently good. Now, when we start getting into the not nitpicking, but the specifics of what culture has what morality, that changes things. I know where you're headed with that, and I do agree, but I think it's more nuanced than that. But I digress. So Bob Iger's
You'd be
gone.
surprised to know that I was talking about the Eastern Bloc, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Bob Iger's gone. Kathleen Kennedy's gone. Fantastic work. Nice job, Disney. Hopefully it's not too late. You can save yourselves. All right.
And in other news, Ron DeSantis was recently hired as a CEO of Disney Company. Can you imagine, dude? Like, that'd be the craziest. Like, hey, I'm done with Florida. I'm gonna go run Disney. Make Disney great. Again.
So my friend, not too long ago we had a discussion about a certain Celtics player. And but prior to that, so we've gone three different ways with this discussion. We've both said that Jalen Brown is not good enough to be the number one on a championship level team. Both had to take that back. We both said that he should 100% be in the conversation for All NBA. I disagree. You said first team. I said no. My fault. And then you said we both agreed that he got snubbed for Eastern Conference Player of the Month. I have since rescinded my statements about him not being first team All NBA. And in fact, I plan to make a case that he genuinely could be in the running for MVP. Now, hear me out. As far as first,
you don't know how to make a case to me. You got to make it to the rest of the world.
All right, hear me out. If we were to say what players you think would be higher on the list for the MVP, or even first team All NBA than Jalen Brown, who would you put on that list?
There's only one.
Really?
And guess what? He's down for 4 to 6 weeks right now.
So you think the only player better than Jalen Brown right now is Jokic?
I think the only player that is as valuable to his team, every other team, you look at it, Jalen Brunson, they can sustain a Jalen Brunson injury because they've got Bridges, they've got Josh Hart, they've got Cat, they've got other people. That's not to say that Jalen's not running with somebody. I'm not trying to belittle the players that we have on the Celtics, but you go a step further, you look at Shea. If Shea sits for 2 weeks, the Thunder probably still win, 70% of their games in that 2 weeks. You look at Jokic, he's down. We'll see what happens. We play them tonight. But my guess is that they maybe go 500 over the next 4 to 6 weeks without him. And then you look at Jalen. The only other guy, and nobody in the world will agree with me when I say this, that is having a season that is leading to what their team, directly impacting what their team is doing, is Cade Cunningham. I can't think of another player outside of Cade and that is in that conversation. I just don't know how. I mean, you say, people are like, oh, look at the Rockets and Durant, and look at what they're doing, and Durant's playing lights out. Yeah, he's a one-way player. Cool. Not only is and I'll take it a step further. Not only is Jalen Brown doing everything offensively for the team that we have and the guys around him to get them where they need to be and to win games, he's calling Joe Mazzulla when they play the Clippers going, hey, I want Kawhi tonight. And then he drops 50. He drops 50 while cutting off Kawhi, who had been on a tear of averaging 40 points a game for 6 straight. And not only did he shut down Kawhi, he held him to 3 of 13 shooting. So get the hell out of here.
I think it was more than that.
Whatever it was ridiculous.
It was low. He shot 37% for the game. All right.
No, when Jalen was on him, it was anyway. Yeah, it was when Jalen was on him. But regardless, my point is Jalen Brown right now. If the season ended, show me a different MVP.
Okay. So if I was to make a short list of, we won't even go to the MVP route. Just first team All NBA. I would make. You could make an argument for I mean, Jokic is a shoo-in. Shea is a shoo-in, right? Wemby, Cade Cunningham.
Again, gotta play. Gotta
Well,
play.
hold
In order
on.
to get season awards, you gotta play.
Hold on. Let me say what I need to say. Cade Cunningham, Giannis. That's kind of your short list. Jalen Brown. That's kind of your short list. First of all, I was getting there. Jokic. So if Jokic is out for the amount of time that he's supposed to be out, if it's exactly what they're saying, that combined with the time he's been out already would put him at 64 games. So if he came back a little early, a game or two, and then didn't miss any more for the rest of the season, they're going to be a playoff team, so that's probably not going to happen. So he's out. Jokic is out. He's gone. There's some serious question with Giannis's injuries and how much time he's played, whether he's going to hit 65 games. So let's just say Giannis is out. So Giannis
I
is
don't
gone.
think. Here's my prediction. I don't think it behooves the Bucks to play Giannis.
Probably not.
If you think about it, it's not like you have to showcase his talent. At this point, you're looking for the best trade you can get. And you need a healthy Giannis to get it. So
you remove Giannis, you remove Jokic. So what we've got: Cade Cunningham, Wemby, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I'm
you
removing Wemby too.
Wemby is a possibility. You might be able to remove
Time
Wemby.
missed.
Well,
I mean, he's already missed a month.
He hasn't hit that point yet. So
Oh, but he's missed a month already.
But let's not make assumptions about what the rest of his season is going to look like.
Right.
We're with Jokic, it's a pretty educated guess. Same thing with Giannis. So I'm going to leave Wemby. So you got Wemby,
Okay.
you got Shea, you've got Luka, and you got Cade Cunningham. You could throw Jalen Brunson in that mix, but Jalen Brunson is having a good season. But again, is he more important to the Knicks than Jalen is to the Celtics? And then
he's not more important to the Knicks than Karl Anthony Towns is.
Well,
so how can you be the most valuable player on a team that you're not even the most valuable player to?
I don't know if I would go that far. That's a bit of a stretch.
Here's the thing. No, they're gonna go where Cat's healthy. It's not about Jalen Brunson. They need Cat to be healthy to make that deep playoff run. Jalen Brunson, a 6 foot, maybe 5'10" guard, is not taking you.
I see that I've hit a bit of a nerve here with you. I wasn't expecting such.
I don't like small guards, and you know it.
I hear you. So I'm not really including Jalen Brunson in the MVP race. Boston has surpassed the Knicks in the standings, and if they both continue in the trajectory that they're on, the Jaylen Brown's story is vastly more interesting than Jalen Brunson's, and I think he's going to end up with more MVP. He would end up with more voting. So you could make an argument for Cade Cunningham. He's played really well. Detroit's number one. The question but Boston's only 3 games behind?
Well, Cade's got more weapons.
But my point is that I'm working my way to a point.
Yeah.
You can make the argument that I don't think it's a right now thing. I think that you could make the argument that if Boston stays on this trajectory, if they pass Detroit, which is entirely doable, you could say that Jalen's been the best player in the East on the best team. There's no Jokic. There's no Giannis. Luka, the Lakers are a middling team. They don't look that good. They're having infighting. That doesn't look great for Luka. So really, it would end up really being between Jalen, SGA, and Wemby. Wemby's he's young, maybe, but I don't think so. I just don't think so. So it becomes SGA and Jalen Brown. I mean, I feel like at this point, Jalen's gonna, if he continues playing the way he's playing, which it sure seems like that's what he's gonna do. Boston has a strong possibility of being number one in the East. He's already basically, the way things sit, guaranteed himself first team All-NBA. There's an argument there that he could potentially be, at the very least, a better MVP candidate than Jason Tatum was in his 30-point average season. So there you go.
He's also not splitting time with anybody. in that regard. He's not having to share the light, so to speak. He's having to carry the buckets himself right now, and plug holes where they are, and all while wanting to guard the other team's best player. Here's the thing with Shea. Not a knock on Shea. That team is really good.
Yeah.
Like that team, if Shea goes out for a month, for example, that team wins 75% of their games. Easy. Jalen Brown goes out for a month, we lose 75% of our
I
games.
I hear what you're saying, but when it comes to MVP voting, it's I can only think of one player who played for a team that didn't do that well and got MVP, and that
Yeah.
was and that was Russell Westbrook when he had average a triple double. Generally speaking, you've got to be in the top 1 or 2 in your conference to even really have a
Right.
strong case.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think the fact that OKC is a better team than Boston gives Jalen an
No,
advantage.
but if all things
Voting doesn't.
but all things are going to be equal at the end of the season, if we're being honest. Like if
Sure.
everything continues the way it is right now, then you got to go to those secondary differentiators.
Yeah,
And those secondary
yeah.
differentiators, if they're both first or second in the East and West, those secondary differentiators then come down to like, okay, what do they look like when Jalen doesn't play versus when he does? And what
I
do the
mean,
Thunder look like?
maybe, but part of the problem is that all MVP voting is just so subjective. Like, there's there is just open bias
Yeah.
when it
I
comes to
do know that
MVP voting.
I do know
So,
that Jalen plays in a much bigger market than OKC, so they're gonna hear his name quite a bit more. I think I do in some regards.
I mean, maybe. I
And
also, but
and that storyline of not having Tatum, dude, and losing Al and losing Porzingis, I mean, we're down 3 veterans that we normally have, and he is taking a bunch of Cracker Jacks and dragging them and they're good players, but Jordan Walsh was the worst player in the NBA, like last year and his Like I'm just saying, like Jalen's leadership, he's doing really well in that category to me. And that to me is awesome. But now it's my turn to rescind a take and some
oh,
that I've said. So uh, Joe Mazzulla, love him, hate him. Love him, hate him, say what you will. He's just odd, and I don't know what to think. Like, can you imagine having a drink with Joe Mazzulla?
no.
It would be weird. It would be like the weirdest thing ever.
He'd just
You know what
stare
I
at
mean?
each other and he'd talk about buying a tiger or something.
I have you ever heard of the social construct of no, anyway. He's just a weird dude, just a completely odd guy, and I don't think he's the greatest X's and O's coach. I'll never ever claim that. I think he gets out coached X's to O's probably more than he doesn't, But there's something to be said for the mentality of this team right now this year, and I think it's Joe Mazzulla. And here's why. Joe Mazzulla, when we won our championship, I mean, we've all heard the crazy shit he says to the media. Hey, Joe, how's it feel to have a target on your back? I don't want it on my back. I want it right between my eyes. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna take a man out, take him out from the front. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just random stuff. But I think his mindset has these guys convinced that they're better than they are. And
Okay.
and I'm not saying they're not good at
Mhm.
all. But I feel like they're playing with a confidence and a swagger that only could be elevated by someone's mind game and manipulation like a Joe Mazzulla. Like, think about this. Rotations. You and I have had this conversation for the first half of the season so far. Every couple of nights, it seems like he'll run, in 1 week, he'll run Hauser 20 minutes a night, and he'll run, all of a sudden, Minot, he'll run him 20 minutes. And then you won't see Minot for 2 weeks, except for like 2 minutes a game. And I think it's because how do you keep a pack of wolves hungry? You give them just enough food to never fill them up. And I think what Minot's doing is what Mazzulla's doing is he's giving them minutes, elevating their play, and then just instantly putting them back towards the bench to keep them hungry. Like, it's
Maybe.
like a tease. You know what I mean? But then you notice there's not a lull in our bench. So when he does make those rotations, you see Minot come in and score 10 points
Hmm.
and give us good run. And then you see somebody else go to the bench and not get his. So it's just, there's like this. I think his coaching job right now is doing wonders for our bench.
I think that there's some benefits. One, that system continuity. Um, Joe has had kind of the same system the entire time. Everybody knows how to play in it. All of
Hmm.
these guys have been there long enough now that they know how to play within that system. Um, and then giving Jalen Brown the free. I think you've got to really give the guy some credit for having at least the wherewithal to recognize that let Jalen Brown play the way Jalen Brown best plays.
Well, I
I
feel like he
think.
plays like an underdog all the time. And I
Well,
feel like
I more mean that when you look
lighting,
at,
yeah.
well, like look at what if you look at his shooting splits from last season, Jalen Brown is not a good spot up shooter. He's at best, mediocre spot up 3-point shooter. But when you're putting him in the corner over and over again, and having Jason Tatum initiate the offense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and he's shooting spot up threes, that's not his strong point. His strong point is getting downhill, making a strong move, and either a pull-up jump shot, finishing at the rim, and that gives him the ability to have that distance that he can catch, make a move, and shoot, which he's better at, oddly enough, than he is just as a
Dude, can you
catch and
imagine
shoot.
if he starts passing off ball a lot more in those situations?
Well, and he's
Because
making good
naturally
decisions.
he is, but I mean, imagine when that all really. I mean, because it's not natural for him to get into that position because he hasn't had to play in that position, like you're saying. So he collapses the defense, but a lot of times he'll take that mid-range jumper. Well, you also have on the backside, you have someone usually cutting from that wing and so it's kind of like, imagine if he drops it off. I don't know. I think I guess as good as Jalen's playing, I still see a couple of things that he's obviously working to improve on because they are getting better. And it's like, well, when those kind of catch up to the rest of his game, damn, like,
I think, and you and I disagree on this, but I think when Tatum comes back, I think there's when he comes back, which I think he will this season. There was we had kind of talked about, one, how much are you going to get from Jason Tatum when he comes back, if he comes back, whatever. Um, One of the things I've thought about a little bit more is Jalen's doing all of this with no running mate, really. I mean, you get some great points from Derek White at times, but those are
no
inconsistent.
consistent running mate.
Right. Um, Even if Tatum comes back and he's just on the court, he's enough of a threat to pull defensive attention. I think it's going to make Jalen's job 10 times easier. What I don't want to see is Tatum come back with Jalen operating the team in this way. If you want to change things back to the way they were in previous seasons, fine. Do that next season. You're having
Yeah.
success with things the way they are.
Yeah.
Don't
No,
rock
he
the
needs
boat.
to be a compliment. He needs to be a compliment right now
I
and
think
not
he needs, especially considering coming off of injury. I agree with you. He probably needs to take a bit of a back seat and be that 1B or 2 to Jalen, because Jalen's healthy and he's been doing it all season and they're in a
well,
flow.
and coincidentally, if the two would just like work on their two-man game together, I think they would be deadly. I think they could both score 30 points a night. I know that sounds crazy. I think there's given
They've
nights
done it
where
before.
30 to
So
20, you know what I mean? Like I don't think that you have to have a 1A, 1B. I think it's just every other what the matchup dictates, play the game. Just play the game. And I
yeah,
think my concern is Jalen's words after he dropped his 50 piece the other night.
the best two-way player in the league. I
And
agree
I'm
with him.
loving, well, no, I agree with that 100%. I'm not concerned about that. I'm glad he said it because I've been saying it. But, but I'm more concerned about I'm relishing the fact to the opportunity to lead men and lead this group of guys, and it feels great. I forget exactly what he said, but he was basically talking about how it makes him feel to be a leader.
Well, let's be
And
yeah.
but that's a concern to me because
Okay.
what if he likes being that alpha and Tatum comes back and the Celtics try to force Tatum into the
And
alpha again?
and
But what if Tatum?
This sounds like a perfect opportunity. This sounds like the thing that
It
the
might
Celtics have
not
needed
be.
from the beginning. Think about it this way:
But it also could be the beginning of the end.
nah?
What if?
Tell me,
What if they get so mad? What if Jalen gets so upset that he's like, I want my own team?
Hold up. I want you to think about this. At any point, have you ever thought that Jason Tatum was an alpha?
No.
Okay, so
But he also is he's also a beta who doesn't want an alpha to run the room.
Now, you don't know that. This could be you say this stuff, but Jason Tatum has never been unwilling to let Jalen Brown take the last shot. How many times has Jalen Brown taken the last shot over Jason Tatum? I think this is almost the perfect scenario, because you remove that need for Jason Tatum to be a leader, for him to be that alpha, and let him focus on the thing that he's good at, which is playing the game.
And it happened naturally.
And this may just make things better.
I'm leaning towards.
I don't think
Well, here's why. Here's
man.
why. I love Jalen, but
Mhm.
Jalen goes against the grain and everything.
A lot of times, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I could just see him being like, I kind of want to run my own team now. And I could see Jalen wanting to go to the Hawks. For
So
his
do
own team at some
what?
point.
Lose? Doesn't matter, man. These guys want to win. They're hard. Once you've had a taste of winning, it's so hard to go away from it.
All right, let me say it to you this way: if Tatum comes back, when, whatever. Okay, this year, next year, tomato, and things don't go well. I'm just telling you, it's going to be easier because Jalen's had this taste to go, well, I can do it without this guy. I don't need him.
Listen, I'm not saying that that's not in the realm of possibility, but I just see this as an opportunity for a guy who I don't think really wants that leadership responsibility in the first place.
But he wants to be the best player in NBA history.
So what does that have to do? That has nothing to do with leadership. It doesn't.
Michael Jordan led every
He's
time.
Not Michael Jordan. He's not Michael Jordan. He's not Kobe Bryant. He's just not that guy and never has been. And hopefully he has enough sense to realize that that's not what he's good at. And it's okay. Be a fantastic player, but and let Jalen do what Jalen does naturally, which is motivate and lead. I'm not saying that like I say, I think this is, to me, I see an opportunity here for them to both lean into their strong suits. Will that be what happens? Who knows? I'm not Nostradamus. I don't know. But I just see it as an opportunity for a guy who wants that job, who wants to lead, and a guy who wants to play ball to just do what they want to do. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I hear you. And I'm not saying that that I don't think your way is possible. I also think it would be completely jaded to realize that there is a possibility that this could go absolutely miserably once Jalen realizes that I don't need this guy to win.
Listen, there's always a possibility. There's a possibility that they both come out and become lovers.
Especially
it's not
as hard as it is to build team nowadays with the new CBA and everything. I mean,
sure.
I think that probably lends to him sticking with Tatum a little more, but I also, I don't know, man. It's just,
I'm not worried about it.
Don't get me wrong, but I'm not naive enough to think I've seen some in the NBA, man.
Yeah.
Everybody thought Durant, Harden, and Kyrie were gonna be
Speak
like
for yourself.
I know.
I thought that was a terrible plan. I knew
but they're all friends, man. They're all boys. They've been friends since way back.
Yeah, that's that. Whatever, doesn't matter.
Kyrie and Katie wanted to be on
Part of the problem is that everybody wants to be friends, and that's one of the things I like about Jalen Brown. He doesn't give a shit. He'll show you some respect, but he doesn't need to be your friend. There's not a lot of guys like that. He reminds me.
He's smarter than everybody else, dude. Which
he's a smart cat. But he reminds me a lot of, minus the volume of some of the most brutal trash talk I've ever heard of. He reminds me a lot of KG. If you're teammates, he's got your back. If you're not, he don't give about you. I like that.
I can see that.
All right. So, uh, Patriots, big game this weekend.
Ugh. I hope we unplug the Chargers this weekend. I really do. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, man. You all season I haven't been arrogant. I've been one game at a time. This is where we're at. Drake, we got something cooking. It sounds like it's special. It seems like it's special. Are we on the cusp of stuff? I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I'm really like so being a Patriots fan. The NFL, the rest of the NFL hated us for 20 years. I mean, let's just be honest. They really hated us. They hated us because, well, damn it, they weren't us. I mean, and they wanted to win and they wanted to know what it was like to have that, and they didn't. And I get it. I get it. I'd hate us too, 100%. Same reason I hate the Chiefs. Like, screw Mahomes. Like, great player, but just never wanted to win. But I'm listening to people just absolutely destroy the Patriots for having the weakest schedule and oh, it's the weakest and blah 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 and it's this and that. Well, couple of things here. The schedule of opponents of who you're gonna play for this year comes out is decided years before now, a couple years
Right.
before now. Okay, so that's the first thing. So nobody knew that Drake May and all this other stuff, okay, when these opponents were decided. The other thing is 14 of our games were against opponents that Buffalo played against. Or
Sure.
Buffalo. Why if our strength of schedule is so bad, why aren't people eviscerating Josh Allen for an epic failure of a season? I'm just curious, right? Everybody's saying Josh Allen should be in the MVP candidacy, and he should be one of And so my point is like I, I'm having a hard time because I'm like, why are people just like not seeing what they're doing is actually really good? Then you look at everybody saying Matthew Stafford, and he's probably, the him and Drake May are kind of like this for,
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
But Matthew Stafford, I think he had something like 14 or 16 one-yard touchdowns,
Hmm.
passes. Drake May runs the football for 400 plus yards, has four rushing touchdowns. Matthew Stafford doesn't have that. Drake May's got a higher completion percentage against the defenses that the Patriots played, or that they both played. Drake May played harder pass defenses all season than by like 3 games than Matthew Stafford. But they're so quick to just hate Drake May and hate what the Patriots are doing. And I think I think I finally just chalked it up to y'all just pissed off because we struck gold twice.
I mean, it is a real thing. The Boston New England hatred thing, as
God.
city of champions, my friend.
Yeah, but just
It's
give somebody his flowers. Drake May's balling the hell out, man. Like,
when
he deserves MVP just as much as Matthew Stafford does.
when have they ever just given a New England or Boston team their flowers? They don't. They have to
Then
take
I
them.
started thinking they did hate Tom Brady for
They
and so
have to take them.
and
They just have to take the flowers. They can't. They don't get them given to them.
Well, all I can tell you is Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls playing in the same damn AFC East that Drake May just won, which, by the way, we had a 0.9% chance to win before the season started, according to the odds. And he went out and he won it. Not only did he win it, he dominated the division. He played great in the divisional games. And then on top of that, it's the same, going back, it's the same AFC East that Tom Brady, oh, that division's weak. They have 6 easy games a season, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? Tom Brady made it a living beating y'all's teams in the playoffs when it mattered. And Drake May's getting ready to do the same thing.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I hope so.
Sorry,
You're
dude, I'm
fired up, dude. You're
I'm
fired
fired
up.
up.
You've been
I'm
fired up
fired
this
up.
entire podcast, man.
All right, so yeah, because it's a big football weekend, and you know how I get when it comes to the Patriots football. I'm pretty feisty. I think the matchups this weekend are kind of not favorable. Um, like I think Jacksonville's probably the best team that isn't named New England in the AFC, and the Broncos. I don't want to play Jacksonville in the playoffs at all. I think they've got some momentum. I kind of like that we drew the Chargers. By the way, we get Hank Landry and Robert Spillane, our linebacker and defensive edge rushers, back this weekend. They could have come back. It sounds like both of them could have played this past weekend, but they didn't really feel like there was a need to.
Sim for the
I don't know, man. And then people are like, "Oh, well, he played Miami. Drake May played Miami." One guy said this in the comments, and I was like, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" I just didn't even bother commenting. I liked his comment, didn't say anything. But he's like, "He didn't put up any numbers against Miami, but, he threw 5 touchdowns against the Jets, but no numbers against Miami." Well, if you knew anything about football, you'd understand that when a team has clinched the playoffs, let alone their division, they typically try to fine tune some things across the rest of their team. So if you look at the shift, the emphasis wasn't on the passing game, dipsh. It was on the running game. We had 250 yards
Calm
rushing. We
down.
had 250 yards
Jesus.
rushing at halftime. So, but I'm just saying, like, learn something before you come at us. Yeah, you're gonna have to cut that. No,
uh, we appreciate all comments.
yeah,
Please
I'm
continue to
just
make
messing with you.
them.
You're not a dipshit. Your comments are great. I think all comments are good. I'm just feisty because my boys are in the playoffs and people are making me have to battle and defend them every step of the way, and I'm ready to do it. I do have something I wanted. Speaking of battle, I have something that I wanted that I've been chomping at the bit to talk to you about. Kind of curious what your thoughts are. So, Mr. There will be no new war president himself has now just started policing and sanctioning and policing the world's oil tankers that are sanctioned, moving all around. And we boarded 2 boats in the Atlantic today that were sanctioned oil ships. Are we provoking a war with Russia because we take sanctioned oil? No, I didn't think so either. Um, and then he's saying all this stuff about Greenland and how we might have to take military action and all this other stuff. I think it's a pressure campaign on to end the Ukraine and Russian conflict, personally. But
I don't know if that's what this is. I'll be the first one to admit I've got no clue why he wants Greenland. We basically have an open agreement that we can put basically whatever military anything we want in Greenland as a staging ground for NATO
because
if
we
we have
run it, we
to.
cut off. We're right on Russia's door, close to Russia, and I don't
I
think they
I
want it.
I don't I don't think that's I don't know what it is. I can't make sense of it, but I don't think it's that I don't think he's over here playing 3D chess right now with Greenland.
I
I
also
can't
one
believe
thing I
it.
know about Trump is anytime he says something so outlandish, he's usually doing something else behind the scenes. So, kinda makes me wonder what he's doing, like, is he getting ready to invade Cuba, while we're all, like, thinking about Greenland?
Like I say, I don't know what there's some minerals up there. We would probably like to have access to the Arctic, but we have that in Canada. I mean, and sorry, Alaska. We have that in Alaska. So, I
That's okay. Half of Canada wants to be American anyway, so
I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sure what the play is here, but I don't know as though I don't know if there is a play. I'm gonna be honest with
well,
you.
I
Sometimes he
find
says
it
shit, and I just go, I don't even know if he believes it.
so I was doing a deep dive last night because I was kinda curious listening to the political responses of Venezuela, right, and the Maduro stuff. And Chuck Schumer is one of the guys that comes up. Schumer's up there talking in 2020 how why didn't Trump go take out Maduro? Why wasn't there
Yeah,
regime change? Why did we
yeah.
take him out? Now he wants
Now
to
he wants,
arrest Trump
yeah,
for war crimes.
uh-huh.
And there's multiple people like that in that regard. But what's crazy to me, man, is then I go out to Al Jazeera this morning, okay? And I tend to go to multiple different sources. I like to go to Al Jazeera a lot of times because quite frankly, a lot of those people hate America, so you get kinda a different view of what we're doing in the world to piss people
Fair.
off. Um, and so I went to Al Jazeera, and they're talking about Tehran, and they're talking about the protests that and how the regime is getting ready to topple in Iran, right? So I'm reading this article, and they're talking about how there are people in the protesters that are carrying Trump flags and posters and saying and going, "Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Trump." And they're doing the same Caracas. And I'm like, so it's only America that hates him. Hey, these third world countries that that they're all oppressed and everything else, and under the thumb of these like dictatorship regimes, they're thanking him left and right for freeing him, and the Americans are like, "Oh, we should arrest him for doing it." And I'm like, You
Yeah,
flip-flopping fish out of water people.
when it comes to Venezuela, you know, let's be perfectly honest. We've discussed this before. Venezuela was a fairly wealthy country, and then communism happened, and now they're where they're at.
Was
Uh,
communism bad? I still haven't between the comments and the video you posted and what I'm seeing out there, and I think there's a lot of people that really need to go back and read the difference between communism and socialism, but I really don't wanna go
yeah,
there too
like
much.
there's been some like stuff about Scandinavian countries, and you can have socialist policies. That's not what we're talking
Well,
about. We're talking about communism.
someone with blue
Um,
hair made a comment
dude,
about
can you?
how socialism or how communism works for look at police forces, and I'm like,
That's
"Well, then
not
why do you
communism.
wanna
That's
why do you wanna"
there is nothing about that's communism.
I didn't
That is
understand
not
it in its whole,
communism.
man, but you
Um,
saw that comment, right? And I'm like,
yeah. I'm just like I don't a lot of that stuff I don't even bother saying it, making any kind of response to if I even bother reading it because it's that's
it's
not
like,
what communism is.
so the same police force that you wanna defund, now you're saying is a communistic thing and it's good? Like, what are you talking
I mean
about?
it's
Anyway, moving on.
there the reality is that there is no communism in and of itself as an idea as a concept. There's nothing inherently wrong with. As I said before, the problem is that we can't do it. We just can't
Yeah,
do it. What people suck. We can't be that nice. We can't be that altruistic. There's always a
but I
bad
thought
actor.
this goes
It
against
just
your
didn't work.
inherently good.
I think most people are inherently good, Jordan. I think in aggregate, as I said, most people are inherently good. In something like that, it only takes one bad apple to ruin the entire pie. So Um, so yeah, so the whole Maduro
Anyway,
thing, I agree with you. Like, that it's an opportunity. Hopefully, the people of Venezuela take it as such, and retake their country and form it in a way that uh gives them autonomy and the ability to make decisions for themselves as a nation. You know,
what do you make of Trump saying that the Venezuelan people are gonna give us 30 to 50 million barrels of oil and of oil that we've
sure,
already taken, right? Like,
okay.
they're just giving it to us 100%. Um, but
I don't
right.
know.
Well well, I just thought it was interesting because if you think about it, I mean, I know we were in Venezuela for a while and we had some oil things and then it got given to other people and we're kinda taking back what we once had to begin with, it sounds like, in some ways. But I don't know, man. We're taking he's like, "America's gonna keep the oil and we're gonna run the country." And I'm like, "Marco Rubio for Venezuelan president."
Man, I don't know. Like I say, it's
I'm not
geo
mad he did it. I don't really care. Like, I'm kinda like,
geopolitics
"Whatever."
is a complicated. She's a complicated lady. You know what I mean?
Why
Um,
she gotta be a lady? What if she's a dude?
sure. He's one complicated dude. Uh,
They are a complicated individual.
sure. Um,
What are you over there crushing, man? Is it a, blue raspberry vibe?
it's frozen berry.
Frozen berry vibe. Gotcha.
Yep.
Have you had the peach ones?
I think artificial peach tastes like cat piss smells.
I was
Hate it.
getting ready to I'm glad you added smells because I was getting ready to ask you how you knew what cat pee tasted like.
Sometimes I get thirsty and gotta wring them out. Um, you asked. Uh, so, uh, so, so yeah. It's funny. Uh, with the whole Iran thing, it's interesting the nuances. I mean, you think about how many regimes right now are in trouble. You've got
Yeah,
you've got Venezuela that Maduro's ousted. Uh, Iran, their government's not far from the edge of tumbling down. Um, there's some question, especially with the way the Russian economy is going, whether what's going to happen with Putin's regime.
yeah.
Um, you know, China's kind of the only one that's really hanging on for any worth, at least of those major ones. It's just interesting that it's all kind of coming to a head right now. I don't think that history repeats itself, but it rhymes. Is a common. It's a pretty common statement. You know, I think that we're in the midst of maybe a bit of a cultural revolution where a lot of these, you see it with the swing that you've had politically in the US, where this whole idea of, everybody being politically correct and everything's about race and sex is kind of going away, or at least being argued against. And you're seeing the kind of the old guard in a lot of these countries being kind of pushed out. It's just interesting.
Yeah, politically speaking, I think the temperature, it's a pendulum. There's always a pendulum, and I think the pendulum swung so far one way, and the world's come back to the middle, which is what most people want. They want the space and the freedom to move about their life the way that they want to, and they want to be able to pay their bills. And I think that if you look at the regimes that are starting to have some issues, they just coincidentally are places that wasn't the case before, I saw a thing the other day that I thought was really interesting. So Rocket Man's made the news recently. Kim Jong-un, little
Yep.
Rocket Man.
Little Rocket Man.
He had his daughter at a lot of the missile launches and some different stuff, and she's starting to be politicized more. And there was talk that he might not be doing so hot, but they've been talking about him not doing well for a long time. And I
As
just,
always, Putin's got cancer. Fucking Kim Jong Un isn't doing well. Xi Jinping has stroke. It's yeah, you get all that stuff.
the only cancer Putin's got is isolationism. But, he
He's
went in that
yeah.
bunker. He went in that bunker for what, like 3 years during COVID, came out like a madman. It was like, Ukraine!
The thing is that he's been saying that they needed to reestablish the Soviet Union for a hot minute. That Ukraine
I know,
is,
but
Ukraine is they're ethnically Russian, and it's should be part of Russia, etc., etc., etc. But
you mean he was a KGB guy who had it beaten into his head that he should probably pursue the reformation of
I don't
the
know if it
Soviet
was
Union?
beaten in his head. I think it was, he lived through
Highly
the.
suggested.
Well, I just think he's somebody who lived through the golden years of the Soviet Union, and that was the high point of Russian society, and he just wants to get back to that. Now, I don't think it's going to be a thing, but
You want to hear something? I'm laughing because you talk about the golden years of Russian society and everything else. They've fallen so far that Steven Seagal is a national treasure.
And where Steven Seagal goes, so goes the nation.
I'm just telling you. Is that like a C-lister celebrity here in America is all of a sudden like an A-lister,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
like mobile phone guy rocking fur coats and everything, and like like what the hell? Steven Seagal is their spokesperson for everything over there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just know
Kinda weird.
that Europe needs to get their shit together. I
The
think
UK used to be a place I wanted to visit. I've got no desire to go there now at all. And part of the reason why is because I don't like the censorship that they're putting on their citizens.
100%.
It's a massive turnoff to me, man, the way that they're going about the censorship police and everything else. You've got refugees and immigration crisis within your own country, and because people are speaking out, you're arresting them? Like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like,
Well,
what is this? What is this, communist China? Like, I mean,
yeah, I mean, it is a bit of an Orwellian type of situation where they're, it, the one that gets me is the digital ID thing,
oh my
so,
God.
but it's not so much the issue with digital ID. I don't, that it does give the government the ability to know what you spend your money on, know how much money you have, know what you're doing, know where you're going, all of that stuff. Not ideal. But they frame it in this idea that, oh, well, we're going to use digital ID. If you want to work, you have to use this digital ID because that's how we're going to verify that you're allowed to work. Just close your borders. You're an island.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not landlocked. Like, what are you doing?
It's such. I don't know how they can say it and not laugh, But again, like you were saying, it's just another form of control so that they can censor their population. I don't know to what end, but it's like anything. Once you give somebody control and power, trying to wrestle it away from them
What are
is
we
is
going
a
back to,
difficult
like,
thing.
King Charles running the entire, like,
No,
the parliament
I
won't matter and the prime minister, and we're gonna behead people in the UK now and
no,
like, I
I
mean,
mean, I just think
it's just
that
too far, man, it's
it,
too
it's a
far.
s- it's a step too far. I think, but they've themselves already.
Yeah.
They've gone. There were a lot of wealthy expats in England and in the UK. So what they did, I don't know if you know about this. So what they did was they said, okay, you live here and you own businesses in, say, France, and you have one in Texas. You have
Yeah.
to pay taxes to us on those businesses in those other places. And so they've had so much capital flight, it's not even funny. It's the same thing that's going to happen in New York. It's I am not necessarily in the mindset that taxes are theft. I think taxes are a necessary thing. I don't love them. I don't really like paying them, but I want roads and a police force and firefighters
I
and
think I'd
all of
feel
those things that
better
go
if I knew
along
where
with it.
my tax money was going, you know?
Sure. I would agree with that. I
Yeah. But I agree taxes are there. I also don't think we need it. I don't think that we need to be supporting it. Like welfare is good, but it's a hand up, not a handout. And so I don't think that tax money should be. That's why, dude, we're at 58 minutes. That's going to be a whole nother conversation because I'm about to go on a long rant about why sovereign wealth funds and tariffs are great things for this country. So let's just not. UK sucks. Not visiting anytime soon. Big Ben, not doing it.
uh oh, well, they say that they're going to come over and extradite you as citizens. I'm like, giving it your best shot, dude.
You can try.
Didn't we play this party once before? It involved some tea
Yeah.
in Boston Harbor.
Well, last time I checked, a whole bunch of militia beat the out of your big army. So try it again, buddy.
Thanks, France.
Yep.
So yeah,
Which, by the
yeah.
way, speaking of France, I don't know if you saw this video, but I still think it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in a long time, maybe ever. Caroline Levitt, love her to death, press secretary,
Mm-hmm.
the United
Oh,
States,
that be
cute as
speaking
could be.
German.
Just incredible, man. But when that low-level reporter was like, "What do you have to say to the French politician who said that the United States should return the Statue of Liberty to France?" And she responded with, "I think that you should remind that low-level politician that if it wasn't for the United States, you'd be speaking German."
I actually have a bone. I have a bone to pick with this because you'll get people who will go, well, Russia really is the one that won the war. No, they didn't. They absolutely did not. If it wasn't for the United States, the UK would have fallen. It's not necessarily just that we put boots on the ground. You have to remember that the United States was supplying Europe with weapons and materials. Regardless of whether I'm not taking away from Russia's contribution to World War II, but there's, again, much like the New England Patriots and the Boston Celtics, the United States does not get to just be given its flowers. It has to take them. You know, we, we're
And
we
by
we
flowers, we mean Venezuelan oil.
no, but I mean, like, it's like Europe just has this idea that we show up at the last minute and take all the credit. No, if it wasn't for us, we built engines for planes, we built guns, we supplied them with ammunition, food, materials. Like, if you can think of it, during World War II, it came from the U.S. That's
Yeah.
the reality. So, did we come in later than other people? Sure, same thing in World War One. But we were supplying all of your. And if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have had anything to shoot at the Germans with. So, I guess you're welcome. And on that note, we've been doing this for an hour, my friend.
So thank you, Germany. Thank you, Russia. Thank you, France. Thank you, the UK, for giving us to talk about.
Oh, I'm like, where are you going with this?
We really
You
appreciate it.
can't start out with "Thank you, Germany" when we were just talking about World War II. Comes off comes off questionable.
Well, I was just gonna say, man, today was a weird day for me when I woke up. I was sad. I didn't know why, and felt a little down. And the weather's nice, 67 degrees here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remembered why, and I think you'll understand this. It's my grandmother's birthday, man, and she's been gone since 2017, and you know my relationship I have with my grandmother, and so it was a really kind of like a little bit of a like bummer morning, you know what I mean? Just kind of like walking and talking to her a little bit, even though. And then I was walking around my house, and I'm like, man, she would have loved all this stuff, lay by the pool, and like, just to be here. And so, I say all that to say that, do you think that people, is it a comfort? Because that memory made me sad, but my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother is a comforting person. Is a
Sure.
memory really comforting, or is a memory taking us back to a sad moment and we suppress the memories as much as we can?
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on the situation and what the memory is. I mean, I'm sure other days you think about your grandmother and have a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. Incidentally, I was making faces because I assumed you were about to tell a stupid joke. I apologize.
No, I knew where you were going with that. No, I was actually being serious. I was
Yeah,
actually a little
yeah,
bummed out this morning, and I couldn't
yeah.
figure out why. And then I looked down and I realized the date, and I'm like, yeah. And no, so I was just wondering, like with your dad, you know,
Hmm.
whenever you have a memory of your dad, I'm sure there's times where you feel sad, like just for a minute, like not like it doesn't change your
Sure.
whole demeanor, just that
No.
momentary
There's
sadness.
plenty of times that I wish my dad was around to see the things that I'm doing and be able to
Well, and
share
your
in that.
daughter,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
But I more think about like the good stuff, and if I get the old occasional warm fuzzy feeling about it and all that good
yeah.
things. But
No,
yeah,
I get it, man. Well, so we have been talking for a while. I just wanted to ask you. I was just kind of curious if like you get that way too. But so we've been talking for an hour and 5 minutes. I thought today was a great conversation. It was a little widespread. We've
yeah,
talked about regime change. We've talked about bad regimes. We've talked about regime change at Disney. We've talked about the NBA, the Patriots, so um just to recap, everything that Sterling and I said is not fact. It is just our opinion. Please do not attack us personally. In good fun, we will have a great time attacking you back, with your opinions. But please don't attack us with ours. No, in all seriousness, everybody, good hour, good conversation. Sterling and I always have fun talking to each other about just everything kind of going on in the world and what's going on in our lives. Um, I would challenge everybody this week to do one thing and one thing only. Are you ready for it? Are you listening, Sterl? You might want to lead in. I got to tell you this. Stay, dude.
I'm the king of my driveway, mowing lines so straight. Got a toolbox full of glory, and a mortgage by the plate. I'm a modern man with an old school